It's where all the cool kids go. The friendly info will show you around. We reward him with the fresh souls of our customers. Candles, t-shirts, leather tees, and so much more. Tags on deck, horror shop you will never want to leave. Your friendly info will show you around. We reward him with the fresh souls of our customers. Candles, t-shirts, leather tees, and so much more. Dads on deck, horror shop you will never want to leave.
Hanging around with Dick. So many movies, which one to pick? Exploitation overload, crazy comedies, kung fu fun, horror by the pound. Hanging around with Dick. So many movies, which one will you pick? Hanging around with Dick. So many movies, which one will you pick? Will you pick?
Howdy, gang, and welcome to yet another edition of Dick's Picks. And we're going to get to these movies here in just a minute or so. I will be covering Shuang Bay, or as the title I found it under last night when I was wanting to watch it. I believe it's Jackie and Bruce to the Rescue. And it was listed as the worst kung fu movie ever. And, it's pretty bad, but I'm going to get into that here in just a second or so. And the next one will be Extraterrestrial Visitors, basically a ET ripoff, but it's the craziest ET ripoff you will ever see. So I'm going to get to both of those here in just a little bit. And by the way, that's not my copy. That is Steve's copy. And I'm going to have this little guy. This is Trumpy, not named after our current president or anything, because this is way before him. This cute little guy, I will talk about him when I'm talking about that movie. So that's also Steve's. I wanted one really bad. And he said, well, we can share. All right. So if you hear Brink coughing in the background, it is because, I feel like I can be honest with people that watch my stuff. We took her to the vet for a checkup about approximately 2 to 3 weeks ago. And she has developed this cough over time. And it seemed to, be getting a little worse. So we mentioned it to the vet when we took her. And they, listened to her chest and her lungs. And they said there was crackling in her lungs, but they didn't hear a heart murmur. So they were saying it could be pulmonary hypertension. Later, the vet got her blood work back, and most of the blood work looked good, except her something about her liver count was high, which could be an indication of Cushing's disease, which is something both dogs and people can get. I mean, it's not catching or nothing like that. It's just a disease that both people and animals can get. Um, so Steve wanted, because they told us we could treat her for the cough to see, if it eased up, and it eased up some, but she still had it. Um, and so Steve wanted to go on and get X-rays done, so he took her today, and they did X-rays, and um, they indicated that they heard a heart murmur this time. I don't know what is going on with my glasses, but they look crooked. I know, guys. I'm always complaining about something, either something in my teeth or my glasses look crooked. It may be the way I'm sitting, but every time I look at myself on camera, though, I see every flaw, everything wrong. But they discovered a mass during these x-rays, and they call everything a mass, so you really don't know how big it is, near her spleen. And I just lost somebody. So they probably didn't want to hear me talk about my dog. But the vet told Steve, I was not able to go because I was working, but Steve took off from work so he could take her to an appointment. But the vet said that her blood work did not indicate cancer. So this could possibly be a benign tumor. I don't know if they'll need to take it out or what, if it's benign. Perhaps they might. But she could possibly have congestive heart failure, which is something else that people get. And the vet, although we're not happy that, one, she's got a mass near her spleen, and two, that she could possibly have congestive heart failure, and that it's fluid build up because of that, that is causing her to cough. But the vet did say there was medications to ease the cough up and all that. So I just thought I would share that with you folks that, are either watching now or will watch us on the replay, that know that me and Steve have 5 dogs and various other animals living with us. And I thought you might like to know. Now, Brink is doing fine other than the cough. She's eating, she goes outside, she barks, she does, but we're trying to limit her activity so she doesn't get so worked up and start coughing. But in other news, we're going to have a couple of watch alongs this weekend. And because I finally got my lazy duff, and this is not, I never can find what I need, folks. No, not that. Where did I put it? Folks, I'm sorry. I am just never prepared. I thought I had this near the front of my list of stuff, but apparently I don't. And I've written down, I'm going to have to find it because, here we go. So the watch alongs for this Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, June 28th will be Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead, directed by George Romero. Sunday's watch along for June 29th, which also happens to be my brother's birthday, will be for National Lampoon's Vacation. And I do have a couple of new polls up for you guys and gals to help me pick the next 2 watch alongs for not the following week, but the week after that. We'll be into July then. So people have already started voting on that. So feel free to to continue to vote until I lock down the voting, probably the Sunday before the week of the next watch along. All right. So um, we've got Dick's Picks tonight. Hopefully, I'll have a can fodder tomorrow night. Thursday night, another all messed up. And me and Candace are planning on having an extra special Friday Foolish where we're going to be playing a game, folks. Like they say in the Saw movies, want to play a game. So if you want to tune in to find out more about that, please feel free. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you play along. We might also get Chris as a third person live on the stream with us to play. And this was an idea that Candace came up with, and I thought it was awesome. So be sure to tune in to Friday Foolish, Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and see what me and Candace got going on that evening. So still got a bunch of stuff on the shop at deadiceondeck.com. Tell them Poe sent you. Poe is, of course, the official mascot of the Dead Ice on Deck horror shop. But I've got t-shirts, I got tote bags, I got hats, I got mouse pads, candles, blended teas. You name it, possibly I've got it or could create it for you. If you're not a horror fan, or maybe you're a horror fan and you visit my site and you're like, gee, Dana, you don't have a design I want. Hey, this is the design I want. Please let me know. There is a handy dandy form that you can fill out on the homepage of the shop. And you can let me know what it is that you so desire. And I will try my best to make it a reality for you, provided you're willing to pay me the price I quote. And my prices are not astronomical, folks. But I do have to make a little bit of money after overhead, which overhead for me is buying the materials. If it's a t-shirt, I, of course, got to buy the t-shirt. I've got to use my sublimation ink. There are various things that have to be used or utilized to make these things. And for the little bit of extra cost that you may not find at Walmart or other stores, is because if I want to make money, I don't sell as much product as like Walmart. So if I want to make some money, the cost has got to be slightly higher. So movie roulette is in full effect tonight because this is a live stream. So during any live streams, that includes this one, that includes watch alongs, you can give a $5 or more super chat. And if you do that, you can pick any movie of your choosing, any genre. It does not matter. It can even be a movie that I said I hated in the past. Who knows? I may like it this time around, okay? But you can pick any movie of your choosing for me to watch and do a review of. I've got an upcoming movie roulette that hopefully will be coming up sooner rather than later for two movies that Menelec picked. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I just got to find time to watch both of the movies so that I can more appropriately talk about them. And so there's another horror movie rewind up on the channel for The Evil Dead. This is actually part 1. There were so many goofs and so much trivia that I'm going to have to divide it up into 2 different episodes. Okay. And I guess that's it for the housekeeping stuff, for updates and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and get to these movies. So I believe, I think Shuang Bay came out in 1982, while Extraterrestrial Visitors came out in 1983. So I forgot to get a picture of Shuang Bay. So please excuse that. I totally dropped the ball on that. But I do have a physical copy of Extraterrestrial Visitors, which I will show. Can't even talk tonight. Again, when I get ready to talk about that. But let's talk about Shuang Bei, or uh, Bruce and Jackie to the Rescue, or Fist of Death. I think it was another title. There were several different titles. But if you want to watch it, I believe it's available on Tubi uh, under the title Bruce and Jackie to the Rescue. Okay. So this is all about two different kung fu schools. And there's these evil guys that set out to dress like the other school and then attack their teachers and kill, they end up killing the heads of these two schools of kung fu. And um, some of it's funny, like I've seen movies like this be. There's a guy that I don't know what you would call it. I don't know what that's called when they carry people around, where a man, not a horse, it's not a horse-drawn carriage, but a man picks up this little, I don't know what you call it, thing where somebody sits in it and they take them around. And some people, I think, ride bikes and do that too. Um, but I think that's so degrading. I mean, maybe in Asian countries it's not considered degrading, but I told Steve one day I saw that going on, and I was like, I would not want somebody to do that, not even if I paid them. And Steve was of the mind, well, that's how they make their money. That's how some of these people make their money. But yeah, I guess. But so you have a guy that's doing that, and he's kind of funny. And there's some other funny parts, but it's like a lot of these other martial arts type of movies that I've seen, where a lot of it will be funny, but then people will get killed in it. And some of the people you have followed through the entire movie. And this wasn't a very long movie at all, maybe an hour and 26 minutes or so. And so that's the main story of it. And while I wouldn't call it the worst kung fu movie I've ever seen in my life, it's definitely not the best. And, mostly because it's clearly dubbed. And a lot of times when films are dubbed, there's a disconnect. There was even a disconnect with extraterrestrial visitors, which you can tell is dubbed as well. But this was like, it was obvious it was dubbed. It was almost like those cliche kung fu movies, like the real old ones, where you would hear them talk and then their mouth would be going like that afterwards. This was almost that bad, you know. But it still had a certain charm to it for me, and I didn't hate it. And after a while, I could see myself going back and watching it again. Um, so I can't, say it's the worst of its kind, because I don't feel like it is. But it is, a few steps down from some of the better films of that particular genre that I've seen. So while I can't give it a 4 deadites or 5 deadites out of 5, I can, however, I will give it, I know, before anybody says anything, you don't have the half, Dana. When are you going to have the half? But I will give this one 3.5 deadites out of 5. Okay. So moving on to the one I do have a physical copy of, even though it's Steve's physical copy, of Extraterrestrial Visitors. I have to say that slow because it's kind of hard to say. Or if you notice, E.T. the first two letters of, or the first letters of the first two words in the title. And you've got this cute little kid here who kind of stands in for Henry Thomas, and his name is Tommy. It's not Elliot or anything like that. And Tommy doesn't have an older brother and a younger sister like Henry Thomas's character of Elliot and E.T. It's just the one boy. And E.T. didn't really, unless you ask my cousin Heather, who's terrified of E.T. to this day. And I'm not making fun of her. I'm just saying, for most people, the Steven Spielberg movie E.T. is a wonderful movie, right? But you do have Trumpy. You do have this little guy who is similar to E.T. in the Steven Spielberg movie E.T. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And Trumpy is the good alien, right? So Tommy finds an egg in a cave when he's out exploring, looking for insects. And this kid is like a kid after my own heart because he's got tons of animals. He's got a kitten. He's got a pet rabbit. He's got a hamster. He's got 2 parakeets. He may have some white mice. I'm not sure. I think I remembered seeing some white mice. Only thing he don't have is a dog, right? So naturally, when he comes across these large eggs in a cave, in the woods, he takes one of the eggs home. The other eggs had been crushed by this stupid ass poacher. I don't know why he does it. So he deserves to be killed by the alien that's not nice like Trumpy. But Trumpy hatches from an egg. He starts out as a baby. So you have these poachers at the beginning of the film that are trying to get some kind of eggs, bird's eggs, I believe, that they're supposed to be able to get a bunch of money for. And they don't want the Rangers to find them, because they would find them and probably put them in jail for doing that. And Frank Brana from Pieces and a lot of other Spanish horror films, he played one of the cops. He played Christopher George's partner in crime, basically, in Pieces. But Frank Brana's been on a ton of Spanish horror films. And this is directed by none other than Juan Piquer Simon, who also did Pieces. I'm not sure why this was called Pod People. That was one of the names for it, was Pod People. But nobody comes from a pod. I mean, these little guys here, or Trumpy, he comes from an egg. It's not a pod. What other time? It was under the Pod People, the Unearthling, Return of E.T. And people call it, weird and bizarre and all of those things. I don't, or in bonkers. That's another adjective they use to describe this film. But I don't really think of it like that. It may seem a little odd because it's obviously dubbed. And I believe Tommy is dubbed by an adult, as they did in a lot of the Spanish films, the Italian films, stuff like that. They would get adults to talk for the kids, which, I'm not going to lie, it does seem a little odd. But there are a lot of people there are a few people from Pieces that show up in this, namely Frank Brana and Ian Serra, who was, he was a little overly horny in Pieces, but he's an asshole at the beginning of this movie. He's a singer, and his girlfriend is one of the backup singers. And when we first see him singing, he thinks he's hot shit. basically. And he gets on these girls. He says, "Y'all stink, blah, 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 you were off," and he's just being really hateful and elitist and all that. And he has the nerve to bring this little uh what would you call her, groupie, with him and his girlfriend and his friends that work with him while he's making his music. And they go in an RV or a camper or whatever you want to call it, out into the woods where Tommy found this egg that Trumpy hatched from. But there's another alien out there that, um, and I apologize, poor Bree's coughing again. But I don't think that this alien would have been mean and killed people if the poachers hadn't tried to capture it. Rick, you all right? Hold on, folks. Let me check on her. It's okay, girl. I'm going to come and help you. She thinks I'm going to give her medicine every time. I'm going to try to get her to ease up coughing here. Sorry, folks. So, anyway, back to extraterrestrial visitors. Um, so, um, I don't know if this is Trumpy's like mother, his father, one of his relatives. I mean, it obviously looks like him. Um, but it kills a lot of people, basically, because mainly I blame it on the poachers, because I don't think it would have hurt people had had they not tried to capture it. And that doofus near the beginning who goes in the cave and finds all the eggs and just starts smashing them for no reason. Um, the alien being, kills that guy. Um, so um, so you basically have Trumpy, who Tommy thinks killed this one girl. And he's like, "Why, Trumpy? Why did you kill this girl?" And Trumpy's like, I didn't do it." And so he's like, "You didn't do it. There's another one." And so, in typical fashion of a lot of movies like this, uh, including Harry and the Hendersons, where it just broke my heart when John Lithgow has to slap Harry. For those of you that have seen Harry and the Hendersons way back when, or maybe you've seen it more recently. I have it on Blu-ray over there. I haven't watched it for a while. Uh, he has to slap poor Harry on the face to get him to go back to the woods. And he basically, "We don't want you anymore." So that's what Tommy, and it kind of breaks my heart to watch it on here. He tells Trumpy, he says, he says, "I love you, Trumpy. I'll never forget you, but you got to go, because they're going to kill you." And Trumpy will not go. And so he shoves Trumpy and he says, "Go away, Trumpy. I hate you." And you can tell it's just killing the kid's soul to say this. "I don't want you anymore." But Trumpy still won't go. And so he finally says, "Fine, I will go." And Trumpy ends up going out in the woods near the end of the film. And so, I mean, some parts of it are lighthearted with the kid and Trumpy. Some parts are sad, like towards the end of the film when he has to basically make Trumpy go back into the forest, so that nobody will kill him. And Ian Sarah's character softens as the movie goes on, and he becomes less and less of an asshole as it goes on. And he sees Tommy with Trumpy, and he sees what's going on, and he does not shoot Trumpy. And he just watches and allows the boy to let Trumpy go back into the woods. Um, so um, I don't really think of this as a horror movie or a horrific movie, even though the other alien does kill some people. It's not overly bloody. I mean, we're not talking about pieces here. We're not talking about slugs here, which was another movie that Juan Piquer Simone directed. Um, and I remember the first time Steve told me about this one, I was like, say what? You know, because Steve said, yeah, you want to watch some movie called Pod People? It's got Ian Sarah from Pieces in it. I was like, okay. So, um, as bonkers as people may think extraterrestrial visitors is, um, I would have to give this one my top rating because I enjoy it every time I see it. So 5 deadites out of 5, all the way across the board. Um, if you have never seen extraterrestrial visitors or pod people, uh, like I said, that was the other popular title, or known title for this film. Then I urge you to seek this one out and even seek out Bruce and Jackie to the Rescue. Watch it on Fossil, watch it on Tubi. I ended up watching it on Tubi because I had trouble finding it on Fossil, but I wasn't looking for it under the title Bruce and Jackie to the Rescue. So if you have the Fossil app on your television, you may be able to watch it that way as well. But definitely you can watch it on Tubi. I'm not sure about extraterrestrial visitors. In fact, I could maybe take a look at this for y'all and see if the usual suspects maybe have it. They'll just give me a second here. So let's see. Apparently, you can watch this on the Fossil map. You can watch this on Tubi or Plex TV. Or you can buy a Blu-ray or a DVD, apparently, from Amazon. So there you go, folks. In fact, you can watch both Extraterrestrial Visitors. Trumpy says to, go watch it. Or you can watch, and you can watch Bruce and Jackie to the Rescue. But I've been on here a little over 30 minutes and nobody's really hung around for very long, which is okay. I know it's Tuesday. It's kind of early and not too many people watch the Dick's Picks anyway. But, gang, you're missing out if you don't even watch these on the replay because I have had people come to me and say, thank you for reviewing these movies. Because what I'm trying to do with these different episodes, these different shows, like Dick's Picks, is really to introduce people to movies they may have not heard of, they may not know of, and it doesn't matter that you've never heard of Dick Randall. You may have heard of some of his movies, the movies that he's produced, Pieces, Slaughter High, this one, Extraterrestrial Visitors, even Shuang. So, even if you can't watch it live whenever I do these, I would hope that people will watch them on the replay and maybe discover or rediscover films. I always love telling people about different films and especially stuff like Extraterrestrial Visitors that may have flew way, way under people's radar. It definitely flew under mine because, I've seen Pieces, I've seen Slaughter High, the movies like that Dick Randall had produced. But these other ones, if Steve didn't introduce me to some of them, or again, I'm sorry, she has these coughing fits and times they get worse. And a lot of times I just have to let her cough it out, which I hope doesn't sound mean to anybody. But sometimes there's just not a whole lot I can do to help her. Um, but anyway, I hope that people will at least enjoy this on the replay or will watch it on the replay. Um, we've only got about 2 or 3 more episodes of Dick's Picks, and then I will be turning my sights on something else. I don't know exactly what that will be, but it'll be something, and hopefully it'll be something people enjoy. And so, with all that being said, I guess that is it for me for tonight. Stay tuned for Cannon Fodder tomorrow night, hopefully starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And, gang, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday night, folks. And I'll see everybody next time.